My name is Malia Lazu, and professionally, I get young people in urban areas and people of color involved in politics. Currently, I am working for the Progressive Majority PAC, which is a non-federal PAC, and I'm running the Racial Justice Campaign, which trains, recruits, and elects candidates of color in the states. My definition of the grassroots is the people. And I think as broad as that can be defined is as broad as it should be defined. I think we like to construct people into boxes and find definitions for them. And really for me, grassroots are folk. You know, those folks that make cities and towns run every day. And I think we need to, especially our side, needs to define grassroots as that broad because that is our base, the working class people of America. I think that the role of the volunteers is really the lifeblood of any campaign and should be the lifeblood of any campaign. When I see a campaign budget that in it has, paid volunteers, it makes me very, very nervous. And the reason for that is that yes, your volunteers are going to knock on your doors, they're going to phone bank, they're going to do what you need, they're going to do standouts for you, but they are also going to be your on the ground branding. They're going to be that church mother who sits in church talking about, well, after I'm done with church, I'm going to go off and phone bank for this candidate. And that is the type of buzz that you need to get in the community, especially around local politics. Whenever I see campaigns fly in field people or, hire people, what's the first thing that comes out? Why are you working for this candidate? Oh, because I'm getting paid $5 a signature. That's not what you want to be, what you want your volunteers to be saying. But if you can build a strong volunteer base, you will have the most amazing word of mouth campaign. And I don't think that we appreciate that enough, especially here in DC. So what are volunteers? They're the lifeblood of any campaign. I think if I were to give any organizer an advice for the first time that they're running a campaign is first of all that this stuff is not rocket science. Consultants and a lot of people like to make you think it is, but really it's about getting X amount of people to the polls on any given, on any given day, primarily the first Tuesday of November. And so it's not rocket science. Don't freak out. Follow a campaign manual. It's an equation. Plug your community into that equation and get your candidate elected. I think that a lot of times organizers, especially first time people that are running campaigns, think it's this huge piece of this huge thing that's overwhelming, and it can be if you're not a well-organized person. And the second piece of advice that I would give is always say thank you and ask any person that you talk to who's coming to the campaign when you're going to see them again. Innovative techniques, it's sort of a funny term to me because it's actually, there's nothing innovative about it. It's old-fashioned diversity. And I think that that's been the stumbling blocks for so long for people is that they're looking for some innovative technique, like, oh, if we get a rapper to talk about it, or we get a pastor to talk about it, or, we get someone. Well, the most important thing is that the people that you want to do outreach to are a part of your planning and your strategy. You don't think of them as an afterthought, but that they're in your leadership, that they're in your circle, and as diverse as you want your campaign to look is how your office should look. And if it's not going to look that way, then no, you're not going to have a sincere effort to really put forth to any community that you want to, that you want to reach out to and that you want to serve. So can I give you any innovative ways? Well, yeah, I'm sure there's a few creative things, and, P. Diddy will get you in the news, but really what it's about is the communities that you want to reach. Are they in your office? Are they reviewing your strategy plan? Are you talking to them? And talking to them in a real way where they're bought into your campaign, they're bought into your plan, and they're bought into your strategy so you can get honest feedback from them on what's going to work in the community. And that's really all it takes. The first piece of advice that I give whenever I do volunteer trainings or door knocking trainings or phone banking trainings is to relax. Act like you're talking to your mother, act like you're talking to your aunt, your uncle. You're talking to a person. That person wants better schools. That person wants safer streets. That person, wants the things that you want. So you already have an in with them. And you believe in your candidate and you believe in your candidate's message. So it should be easy for you to talk about those things. So relax and talk to them as you would someone who you're meeting for the first time at a party at a friend's house. The second thing that's really, really important is to log everything. It is amazing the type of gossip that you hear when you're going door to door. You know, not only things about maybe your opponent, which would be great if you found that out, but also just the little gossip things like, oh, well, we've been trying for a stop sign forever over here, right? Log all of that stuff because that can help your candidate with their messaging, and it can also help make your second and third approach more personable. So I think it's really important that they relax and that they always have a pen and paper with them, and that they always say, again, thank you, and when am I going to see you again, or I will contact you again. We want to remember that in order to turn out voters, we need to contact them at least 3 to 6 times within the span of the campaign. So you want to let them know that you may not trust me today, because I'm knocking on your door and I have a politician's name on my chest. And so all of those hurt feelings that you've had from the failures of government for 30 years or however long it's been is going to come up when you see that. So that's okay, but I'm going to be back, and I'm going to continue to be back as we build a better community. And I think those types of messaging, when they sound sincere and when they are sincere, really, really work, and can also help the volunteer feel more comfortable about their messaging, because it's not that you have to talk about the 45% who doesn't da. No, just what's your own personal story. And when a volunteer is relaxed, they can express that a lot more freely. There's a few challenges, some big picture with working with young voters and some very specific. I think the number one biggest challenge with outreaching to young voters is that adults, aka the political structure, don't trust it. They see him as a moving target, they see him as hard to reach out to and not worth the investment. And that's really the biggest barrier to doing voter outreach for young people, is that it's hard to get money that's not episodic. And that's not just going to get young people to be a part of a campaign, but really build critical citizens starting from a very young age, which we really should see our role as in being organizers and campaign workers, right? Is that we're going to be building a more critical citizenry. And I think that that's important, that we recognize that. The other thing that I think is a huge barrier is that they're young people, they move a lot. They're not outreached to every day. They're not marketed to the way our grandparents and our parents were marketed to. They're marketed to in very different ways. And it is imperative that we understand that and that we start putting some stock in it. I get text messaged by, people and by things that I want to know about, right? I get my New England Patriot scores text messaged to me. And will continue to until they win the championship. But no, but I think that it's important that we understand that there's things out there that we can reach young people on that won't only be an effective way to reach young people, but that will also help young people know, I know something about you and I know how to outreach to you. And that just helps young people build that trust. Young people are the product of the Nixon generation, right? I mean, we were raised by parents who fought Vietnam, who saw Richard Nixon, who saw a country be desegregated. We have a lot of reasons to be very wary of our government. And so we want to understand that the cynical feelings that young people have are actually very valid, and we have quite a few years of history to show why it's valid to be cynical around our government and around our process. And so in understanding that and working to build trust with them, and I think that can only happen on the local level. As exciting as it is to see rock stars and people talk about it, at the end of the day, you need to know that you have to go to the fire station on the first Tuesday of November, and it opens up at 8 and it closes at 7 at night. And that's where how local people can get creative in reaching young people would really make a campaign effective to turn out young people.